Today we're talking about Application Studio event data. Now, in going through this one, in my preparation and research for it, as well as my own knowledge, there are a lot of holes in the education. There are 4 different manuals for Epicor. Just if you go into their Epicor education, there's 4 different manuals for Application Studio. The event data section is quite slim on all of them or off topic. So we're going to go through it, but there are some holes and gaps. So let's start off with the scope of what we're talking about today and what event data means within Application Studio. So we've talked before about the Application Studio layout, kind of how you find different things. And you can see here, these are the different nodes to find the different elements within Application Studio. So I've highlighted here, if you click on this little node, you'll find all of the events. Caitlin previously talked about component events, and that's one you're probably going to use a lot, as well as user-defined, and then some of the data events. You'll probably use a little bit less of the data events than the component and the user-defined, but we'll go through that. So if you open up this node, you'll see that there's DataTable event types, DataView event types, and EpiBinding event types. And we'll talk about the difference between those and how, when, or if you're not going to be using them. So let's talk first about the different trigger types. When we talk about trigger, when we open up an event, when we create an event, they're going to ask you what type. So you can see up here, we were talking about control before. There's an event type, there's all these different types, there'd be more down here. But we're just going to talk about DataTable, DataView, and EpiBinding. So DataTable, DataView, and EpiBinding, the way that they're different. DataTable is changed or changing data in a specific field. So this is going off of actually changing your data, not just clicking on something, not just changing a view or loading into a child view. This is changed or changing data. It's typing into a field, it's selecting a different option. We're going to talk about how that's different than saving in a second, but just so you know, that's change or changing. DataView is you're actually only talking about the UI in this case, and by the UI, it's like the user interface. So we call it client side, server side. Data happens on the server side. What you're seeing is the client side. So if you're talking about DataView, it's a view is changing. So you're clicking on a child view. So you're going from that landing page into a specific order, and then you're going into a specific detail line. That would be view changing. Row changes would be you'd have a grid and you're selecting different rows. And I have examples of those that we'll see in a bit. And then based on selection or changes in view instead of the data change. So you're changing data or you're just changing what you're seeing on the screen. And then EpiBinding, that is only for components that have a search or a click action. So the EpiBinding is only going to be for those elements. And honestly, EpiBinding, you probably will not be using it. I think that it's something that they built in legacy-wise that happened during development, because even now they don't always use that. They'll sometimes use the on-search widget with a control. So you may or may not be using EpiBinding, but we'll talk about it so at least you know what it is when you look at the canned Epicor forms and you can understand what an EpiBinding is, specifically in event dating. There's EpiBinding that happens in other ways, but this would just be for event data. Okay, so now the term changed or changing, I want to make this clear. And regardless if it's a view or if it's a data table, they use change or changing as the hook name. That's a syntax that does not equal saving. So it's simply that stuff is changing on the screen or has changed on the screen. It will go into something they call a trans view. This is all deep into if you look into the tracing, but it is not what saving is. Saving will call a different event, usually called master update. So changed or changing just means you've stopped typing, you've clicked out, you've clicked in, and it would be changing would be like as you're typing, changed would be you finished typing, you've clicked out of that box. So just know you don't have to save for the change or changing events to trigger. Okay, so let's first talk about data table as the trigger type. You can see that up here. Now, each trigger type, so data table, data view, and EpiBinding will have their own hooks as options. So for data table, the only 2 hooks that are allowed are column changed, column changing. As we talked about before, column changed and column changing is not saved, is that thing being selected? Is it being typed in? That is when this event would be triggered. So for this one, the target, which is actually the box underneath here. Oh, so here you can see target. So under here, there's target. Let me go back. I just wanted you to see that there's something underneath here. So target for this one would be the data table within the data view. So when it says the target, you do not want to use the data view name. If you go to the data view for whatever data view you're trying to utilize or data table you're trying to utilize, you'll see up here it says data view and it'll say data view ID, which is contact. And then you can see under here data table customer contact. So these are not always the same. So if you use data table, you want to use the data table syntax. If you're using data view, you use the data view syntax. So this is the same idea. It's just that there's two different names and you want to make sure you're using the correct target with the correct type. And then additionally on this one, because you're talking about column changing, you need to identify which column. And that means that you're only targeting like a single field, a single column within that table. So you want to use the name that is on that data view data table. So if I'm looking for address, I'd use address here for the column. So now this is an example that I've created. One thing about the canned Epicor forms, their data events, their data views, their column changing, all of those kind of things, they already exist within there and they're very complex. So you cannot change the canned event, but you can create a before or after. Now, a good way to decide, hey, when does this event actually trigger, is you can put in a dialog box to pop up before or after a certain event that you want to see where it's triggered. And then it's sort of like tracing. You can figure out when that event is triggering, and then you can add a before or after to it for whatever you're trying to create an event for. So this one is column changing. The target is key field. So see how complex that key field changed is. This is a canned event. So we can't add anything to this. But if you pull in this message handler, it's going to say, hey, do you want this before or after this event? So I'm going to say, hey, I want this before. So after the key field is changed, okay, here's my message. And then I think in another one, I'll show you how to write that message. But that's a good way to identify when something is popping up. So for this one, trigger type data view, you want to look for view changes or view row changes. So with the data view, you'll have these 4 different hooks: row changed, row changing, view change, view changing. Now, the row changed, row changing you will likely use. View changed, view changing, I've done a lot of research into this. It is supposed to work. When that view is loaded, it will trigger. Every single one of the canned Epicor reports only has one canned view changed event, and the target is nothing. So, or I think it's view changing, and the target is nothing. And I think this is due to the fact that there is a very complex way that the view changing causes an update to the trans views before you do a master save. So that as you go from view to view, as you go from that landing page to the child page to the detail page, that any changes that you're making don't get lost, even though your view is changing. So they only do one, and I've only ever seen one with the view changed and view changing. I've also tried to add my own with a specific view, and it doesn't trigger the way it's supposed to. So I'm not so sure that view changed and view changing is something you're going to be using a lot, but I will show you how to piggyback off of the one that is canned on there so you can see where it is triggering if you would like to use it. So these are the 4. And before we talked about row changed, row changing, view changed, view changing. Once again, it's not saved. It is just working within the UI. And your target for this one is going to be your data view ID, not the data table. For view changes or view changing hook, this is the one I talked about that I'm not sure you're going to use a lot. I don't think you're going to use this one a lot. Every single one of these canned forms, which is like the sales order entry, customer entry, any of these kind of forms will have data view changing on here as a canned event. And you can see there's quite a complex pattern of event next, event next, event next. And if you keep going down the line, eventually they'll get to a master update, connected to a master update. But if you want to add something before the data view, this is how you do it, and you can see where it triggers. So you add in that message handler. I believe for this one I do before. Okay, so it's giving me, and it's a little slow, but so this is the new event that is created. So it says event view changing before. So now I'm going before this other event that exists that's canned. So I put in a message handler here. You can click on that one. You go down to advanced and your parameters. You can pull down and decide, is it going to be an alert, a dialog, a slide out? That's just the type of pop-up that comes. You can choose your level and then you just put in a message. Okay, save it. And now this is how you preview. Okay, so the idea is that every time that view changed, there you go. So your view changed, it should trigger. So we had selected an order, and now we're going into a detail line. So this is another child. So you can see that it triggered when we selected a order from the landing page, and then it triggered when we went down to a detail line after we had selected an order already. If you want to see every time that view changing is triggered, that's how you do it. So let's talk about row changes or the changing hook type. So with row changed or row changing, this is probably one that you're going to use a little bit more. So row change or row changing is going to be if you have multiple detail lines. So either if you're in a grid or you're in a form that has multiple lines that, you know, you'll usually see up here, like line 1, and you can click through. This event, this row change is going to trigger in those situations. And you can watch that happen here. I created a message to trigger when the row is changed on the landing page. And this is the landing page. So you can see every time that row is changed. And this would be good if you have two grids right next to each other and you want the information on the right to change as you select information on the left. That might be a good instance of that. And you can see it doesn't trigger any other time except for when you're in that grid on that landing page. So you have your DataView ID, your row changed, and then it'll trigger. Okay, EpiBinding. I will let you know what it is, how it works, and most likely what you'll do for a on-click on search. You'll typically be using a control type, not an EpiBinding type. So just know that, but we'll talk about EpiBinding. So EpiBinding is specifically with a component that has a search or click action. So if you've ever seen like customer entry where you have to look up the customer ID, there's a little search box. That would be an idea of a search or click action. On this one, obviously, the only hooks are allowed are on click or on search. Although I've seen that even when it's search, it's still click. So I think some of this might be legacy brought in that is no longer used. Let's for the trigger type of on click. Okay, so here you'll see an event that says this was a canned event that wanted to duplicate a certain comment into multiple axes. So one of the things that you need to know about the EpiBinding target on the EpiBinding trigger for on-click is that the target needs to be the same as the EpiBinding on the component itself. So this on-click created an event here. They chose EpiBinding. On-click was the hook. The target has to match the EpiBinding that exists on the component. So just remember that if you're ever looking at what the EpiBinding is, if there's ever an error, make sure that those two match. So the on search versus the on click. And they use this term now, on search click. I think they're just doing clicks now. And then later there's a widget that is search. So I think that's more what they're doing is they're doing a click action and then they do a search later, but it's on search click or just says on search, but it's still a click. So I haven't seen them use on search as a hook, but it's the same idea. The EpiBinding needs to match the target. So here, key fields order number, here, target, key fields order number for that on search click. So now the next thing I want to go to is user-defined actions. So you can see here, I only pulled in the user-defined actions to see. There are a lot of options in these user-defined actions that they have given you, like after update, after undo, after refer, all sorts of things, after get by ID, so that you don't have to find the exact view change. You don't have to find the exact column change. There may be situations where you'd rather actually use upon load or master update or something of that nature versus using the really complex data view changing or row change, those kind of elements. You may instead want to use a user defined. So look at these and see if this fits what you're looking for. if you're having a hard time finding the exact view that you need to find. And Priyanka has a video, I believe, on our YouTube channel that talks about tracing to find what event is being called. So that is another thing to look up if you're having trouble figuring out which event is being called. Look up her video and use the Kinetic browser and developer tools, and it'll tell you. Sometimes there's a lot, especially for data views. There are a lot. So it may be better to do before update, before view changing, things like that.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.